Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today where we will be doing a 3-part series. So in part 1, we will be discussing interview tips before you actually go into your interview. My name is Lily, you can call me L.
I'm Wadhani, you can call me M.
And together we are M&L, hanging with the girls. Mshauri careers, hanging with M&L.
So let's talk about what you should do as you prepare for the interview. Research is a really important thing, right?
There are a couple of things that fall under research. One, first and foremost, research the organization.
Yeah.
Just know a few things. Look in the news. Has anything popped up about them? Go on their website.
Have a standard notebook. So I personally have one that I save just for interviews, and let it be where you jot down everything and anything that you need to reference during the interview. What about the job description? What should you do there?
Read the job description
Ask for it if you don't have it.
before, 100%. So look at the job description, highlight your areas of strength as well as your areas of weakness.
Yeah.
And just know the questions that would come, especially on the areas of weakness. And if it's something you haven't necessarily done, then just say how you would go about doing it. Let's talk about the CV.
Exactly. Read your CV and read it well. Cross-check the metrics that you've put there. So if you're saying you grew revenue by 10%, and this is a publicly listed company, which your panel might know about, make sure it's a true 10%.
And if it's an in-person interview and you maybe forgot to add a couple of things to your CV, come with printed copies for everyone and carry extra. If it's an online interview, make sure that you send the CV beforehand to the recruiter or the liaison, so that you're not in the interview talking about maybe a new job you started 4 months ago.
Don't be afraid of doing that. I found later a candidate will tell me, oh, I was afraid of looking unprepared, that's why I didn't send it ahead of time. It's like, you know, we're all adults. I mean, this is the world of work.
If you are going into an online interview, joining a Zoom link, whatever have you, whatever platform the organization is using, there are a couple things that you should do.
Exactly. And we actually did an entire episode on mistakes to avoid when you're in an online interview. Catch the link up here. And what you will see there is you need to check your mechanics. So your internet speed, your background image. In fact, you start with testing the link altogether.
Always have a backup. Internet fails us, electricity goes off.
So tether your phone.
So make sure you have bundles.
Yeah.
You're not buying bundles as you're in the interview panicking. Just make sure that you have a backup.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't look like you're in a dungeon.
Your lighting.
Yes, please, because sometimes it
And all
can
you
be a
can see is your
distractor.
teeth.
Yeah, like make sure that you have good lighting, and also sometimes I've had a situation where it's too much lighting.
And then when it comes to background, yeah, please test this. There was a candidate once I had who was in their bedroom and their bed was behind them unmade. These are some of the
Even
things.
made. Just don't have your bed. Like, and if you cannot have a space, talk to a friend. Rent a space to have your
An
interview.
Airbnb
Yes.
for a few hours.
So we've talked about what to do when you are attending an online interview. Let's discuss an in-person.
Yes.
Always look up the location.
Make a pre-visit. Go beforehand.
Go there physically,
please.
make sure the building is where the building is said, because sometimes maybe they've moved, or sometimes there's a construction that's going on and then you miss the turn and are on the other side of Waiaki
But the
Way.
matatus don't reach that stage.
Yeah, and also make sure you have a contact number for the recruiter, or whether it's the person who's manning the reception.
Yeah.
Because if something does happen, for example,
And you're running late.
you have someone to call or someone to reference,
Yeah.
and it actually is very, very important. And people do understand that life does happen.
Again, we've done a whole episode on a CV, interview prep, and how to prepare. So if you want to formats. So if you've missed that one, catch the link up here. And we talked about giving a backup contact. So a personal story. I had an interview once and I got lost. I didn't do the pre-visit, so on the day off, I'm trying to find where this place is. I'm lost. My phone, for some strange reason, went off. And my backup contact was who was called, who happens to be my mom. And I hadn't told her that I'm going for this interview, so it was a whole thing. So put a backup contact and let them know that in case I'm not accessible, you'll be contacted and, you know, buy me some time. So make that a must do before the interview. Another fundamental thing to do before an interview is prepare how you'll dress. Now ask the interviewer or ask whoever is organizing this interview what is the acceptable dress code for the company and more so for the interview. We always recommend keeping things timeless.
And I will say this goes both for in-person interviews and online, interviews.
Some have pajama pants at the for online
and if
interviews.
you do have
but
the pajama, just don't show it. I'll tell you a horror story I had where I had an individual and then we kindly asked them to turn on their camera. And when this candidate did, she had a bonnet on.
She just come from bed.
And she was in a t-shirt, like a whole t-shirt that was 3 sizes, not even her size. We're going to discuss the questions that you should expect, and you should always prepare for these questions, because I see so many people freeze up. The tell me about yourself question
will come in one format or the other.
And I always say, use this format: past, present, and future. Talk about what you studied in school.
#PPF.
Talk about what you're doing now. And then talk about your ambitions and how these ambitions fit into this specific role that you're interviewing.
You're going to be asked about your career goals. Don't have a judgmental look on your face and thinking, why are they asking me this question? No. Think through an answer and make it very relevant to the job that you're applying for and the company.
And the why you question, that question will come.
Yeah, why should we pick you?
And I don't want to bust your bubble, but I'm going to do it. You are not the only person being interviewed for this position. What you need to do for the why you is back to the research. Find a problem that this company has been struggling with and see how you can fix it. Avoid buzzwords: hardworking, trustworthy,
Proactive,
kind,
weakness is
caring. Guess what? The person right before you just said the exact same thing. And one of the most important ones, salary.
Yes, that question will come. What are you expecting? For me, I usually say the safest way to respond is to say, you know that you have a lot to offer. A, says you're confident, and that you're expecting your pay to be matched and an attractive percentage increase added to what you're earning, and you're open to negotiating it.
If you have a career gap in your CV, the question will come.
It will come up.
Be prepared to talk about it. And what I say is always have something to say. The worst thing is just saying nothing or I've just been applying. We do understand that the job market is tough and it is hard, but you know what? Take a course.
If you took a break to venture into farming, say so. And if this work environment doesn't appreciate that, then clearly it's not one for you. At the heart of this, be honest. And if at all, for whatever reason, you left the other organization because there was a clash of culture, or there was an integrity issue, or even if you were fired, there are ways to bring out these important factors before the interview.
Just to add on what Em has said, we do thorough background researches. So if you were let go for some sort of disciplinary issues, I will find out. So please, let it come from you rather than from me.
A key thing to do is to prepare for the questions to ask. Remember that notebook? Open a fresh page and write some of the questions to refer to once you get to that part of the interview where you're asked, do you have questions for us? And the key questions to ask, a key one would be, what is the main problem that needs solving in like the first 90 days?
And if you have absolutely nothing to ask, this one is a no-brainer. Just ask, what are the next steps? That's it. Like, if you completely freeze up and you don't know what's going on, just ask about next steps.
So in this episode, we've covered the key things to do to prepare for an interview. So we've talked about research, what to do if it's an online interview, what to do if it's a physical, in-person interview, and how to prepare for questions to expect and questions to ask. Now, in the next episode, we'll jump into what to do during the interview. You don't want to miss that episode.